This is Algebra 1, spring test number 6, part number 2, picking on number 13, where we're graphing these inequalities in two variables. 8x plus 6y is greater than or equal to 20. You could either graph this using intercepts, or what most of us would probably rather do, graph them changing it to the slope-intercept form. So in order to change it to slope-intercept form, you want to make it say y equals mx plus b. We'll just have something different instead of equals here because it's an inequality. First thing we want to bring over is 8x to the other side. If it's positive 8x on the left, when we bring it over to the right side, it becomes negative 8x. Positive 20 is still there on the right-hand side. And all we did was brought over minus 8x. We subtracted, so the symbol does not reverse at that point, so it'll stay like this. But it's not quite slope-intercept form. We need to get y by itself to make it be y equals mx plus b. So we need to divide everything by 6 to get rid of that multiplying by 6 there and here as well. This will leave us with y. Again, all we did was divide it by a positive number, so you don't have to reverse the inequality. Again, we'll leave it just like it is. Negative 8 and 6 or negative 8 doesn't divide by 6 as an integer, but we can reduce it. Negative 8 and 6, the number 2 goes into both of them, so it'll become negative 4 over 3x. And then the number 2 also goes into 20 and 6. It goes into 20 positive 10 times and into 6 3 times. So now it says y equals mx plus b, or in this case it says y is greater than or equal to mx plus b, where your m value is negative 4 over 3 and your b value is 10 over 3. Um, with this b value being a fraction like this, 10 over 3, in order to use that as your y-intercept or your b value where you begin, you need to look at it as a mixed number instead. 3 goes into the number 10 3 times, and there's 1/3 left over. So you begin on your y-axis at your y-intercept 3 and 1/3. 1, 2, 3, and about 1/3. So right above 3, but not quite to halfway. Your m value is negative 4 over 3. Remember, your m value tells you where to move. If it's negative 4 over 3, negative 4 tells you to go down 4 times. Positive 3 tells you to go to right 3 times. So from the point we began at, 3 and a third, we're going to go down 4 times. Down once, twice, 3, 4 times, and to the right, 1, 2, 3 times. So again, we're right above that line. That's where our second point goes there. If this were just an equation, we would draw a straight line through these 2 points here and we'd be finished. It's not just an equation, though. This is where the difference comes in with inequalities. The first difference, does the line need to be a dashed line or does it need to be a solid line? Um, Remember, in order for it to be a dashed line, it will simply say less than or it'll say greater than. That's a dashed line. If it says less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, you'll make instead a solid line just like an equation. Since this one says y is greater than or equal to, we're going to make a solid line through those 2 points. So just like you would a regular equation, you'll draw yourself a straight line through those 2 points. That's the first difference with inequalities, dashed or solid line. The second difference is we have to shade one of the half planes. We have to shade all of this, or we have to shade all of this, depending on which side is true in the inequality. The way we can determine which side is true is we could plug any point in that doesn't fall on the line to see if we get a true statement or not. Remember, when you're plugging it in, you want to try to go back to your original sentence, 8x plus 6y is greater than or equal to 20, just in case you made a mistake when you were converting it. So as long as 0, 0 doesn't fall on the line itself, 0, 0, in this case, the origin does not fall on it. We can use those numbers 0 in place of x and 0 in place of y. So 8 times 0 is 0, plus 6 times 0 is 0, is greater than or equal to 20. So evaluate that statement right there. 0 plus 0, which is 0, is that greater than or equal to 20? It's a very easy question to answer. No, clearly 20 is a bigger number than 0. Therefore, everything on this side is wrong since 0, 0 is wrong, which means you need to shade everything in that direction. That's how it should be shaded for number 13. So those are the two differences. Other than that, it's graphing the inequality just like an equation. Dash line or solid line, which way do you shade? Number 14 and 15 only have one variable. One of them says x is less than negative 3. One of them says x is greater than negative 4. You're still graphing them, however, in two variables. You're graphing them in two plane or in one plane, two variables. So since that's the case, x is less than negative 3. This is your x-axis, the one going across that way. So at negative 3 is where it crosses. So it crosses there. Remember, an inequality, first difference, is it a dashed line or is it a solid line? That's the first difference. So right here, we look at it, it just says less than. That means a dashed line. So since there's only one variable given to us, we know it's either going to be a straight up line that's vertical or a side to side line that's horizontal. It won't be on any diagonal. The second difference with inequalities is we're going to shade everything to the left or everything to the right. X is less than negative 3 does not pass through the origin 0, 0. So the x value then is 0. So 0 is less than negative 3. Is that a true statement? Is 0 less than negative 3? No. Negative 3 is not the bigger number here. 0 is the bigger number. Therefore, towards 0, 0 is wrong, which means away from 0, 0 is right. 15 is almost as easy. X is greater than or equal to negative 4. Again, it's only one variable, so at negative 4 this time it's going to cross through. The first difference, is the line dashed or is it solid? It says greater than or equal to this time. That means it will be a solid line. So it will be a solid vertical line just like that. That's the first difference. The second difference is we're going to shade one way or the other. Again, it does not pass through 0, 0, so we can use that. We always want to use that if it's available because it's easiest. In place of x, we can plug in 0 then. Is greater than or equal to negative 4. Determine, is that a true statement or not? This case, negative 4 is a smaller number. The big mouth is eating the 0. Therefore, it is a true statement. Unlike number 14, where it was false, this one's true, which means everything towards 0, 0 is correct, and you shade everything that way. So the two differences, you graph it just like an equation. The two differences after you have 2 points, or in this case just 1 point, is will the line be dashed or solid, and which side do you shade it on? Number 16 says write the following inequality in slope-intercept form. So all we're doing for number 16 is what we did for number 13. We're moving it into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write it down here a little bit bigger. Negative 4x minus 2y is less than or equal to 8. You want to make y equals mx plus b. So the first thing you want to do is move negative 4x over. You do that by adding 4x to both sides. If you do it here, you do it here. We can't add 8 and 4x to get 12x because one has an x, the other one doesn't. They are not like terms. This leaves us with negative 2y on the left. All we did was added something, so your symbol does not reverse. Positive 4x, and it's positive 8, so you put a plus there. Then in order to get y by itself, you get rid of negative 2 times y by dividing by negative 2. If you do it to the left, you divide everything on the right by negative 2. Now you have y. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2x, and 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. In this case, however, though, we did divide by a negative number. Dividing or multiplying by a negative number means you need to reverse the symbol, and less than or equal to becomes greater than or equal to. So y is greater than or equal to negative 2x minus 4. Y equals mx plus b. Number 17, write an inequality for the graph. X, and your graph is approximately at 5. You don't have to try to break that down into 5 and a partial number. Just call it between 4 and 6, which is 5. So what direction does the graph show? Look and see. It's going this way. And you can see the symbol on the end looks like that. So if you have x first and the number second, the symbol here matches the symbol there. The second part you have to check, do I make it or equal to or not? It's an open bubble. That means you are not counting the number, which means you are not saying or equaled to 5. It is simply x is greater than 5. 18 says Tina can type at least 60 words per minute. So Tina, we'll call her X, how much she types, and 60 will go there. So we just need to put something in between X and 60, at least 60 words per minute. Does that mean she can type 60 or 59 or numbers that are less than 60? Or is the amount that she types going to be 60 and 61 or numbers that are bigger than 60? That's what you have to ask yourself. At least means the numbers will be bigger than 60. So the amount she can type, or in this case, X, has got to be bigger. The big mouth has to eat that one. But 60 is also counted, since 60 would actually satisfy what's going on. So it won't just be greater than, it will be greater than or equal to. So here is the inequality. X is greater than or equal to 60. Remember, anytime you only have one number, always show it in relation with 0, just the way you know if you're positive or negative. So 60 is on the right side of 0. Greater than or equal to means the bubble is colored in. That's the or equal to part. And greater than, all of the numbers are going this way, which again matches this direction. And that's what your graph would look like. Number 19 says to solve this inequality, 5 times w distribute is 5w, and 5 times negative 5, which is negative 25. That is greater than 25. So undo this now. We're still undoing our order of operations backwards. Undo, you want to get w by itself, so undo minus 25 by adding it to both sides. 25 plus 25 is 50. So you have 5w on the left, you have 50 on the right. Greater than does not reverse because all you do is add numbers, so it stays greater than, and then get w isolated by dividing by 5 to cancel out 5 times w. You divide the left, divide the right by 5. 50 divided by 5 is 10. And again, ask yourself, do you need to reverse the symbol? We divided, but it was by a positive number, not a negative number, so w will stay greater than 10. Number 20, write a compound inequality that represents each situation. Graph your solutions. All real numbers at least negative 4 and at most 6. Anytime you see this little conjunction and, you're going to put x in the middle. X is in the middle. Negative 4 is the smaller number, so it'll go on the left. 6 is the larger number, it'll go on the right. So at least negative 4, at most 6. At most 6 means x can be 6, but it has to be smaller than 6. So if you ignore this side for a second, if you only look at that part, x is what? 6. At most means it has to be less than or it can be equal to 6. That's what that means, that phrase at most means. Remember, when you're making a compound and inequality, the symbols have to face the same direction, which means this one has to go the same way. It says it has to be at least negative 4. That means negative 4 is also acceptable, which means it will be equal to this one as well. This is your compound inequality then. Negative 4 is less than or equal to x and less than or equal to 6. Then it tells you to graph your solution. Again, you only need to show two Numbers as reference, -4 and 6. We use 0 when we only have 1 to show. So again, graph the easier one first. That's this one is the easy one right here. X is less than or equal to 6. Or equal to means the bubble's colored in, and less than means everything this way. That's the easy one to graph. The other one, if you have to rewrite it to where you don't make a mistake, then do so. We can rewrite this part here by putting x first and -4 second and making sure the big mouth continues to eat the x. So x is greater than or equal to, again, a colored bubble, and greater than is everything that direction. That is your compound and inequality graphed out. Number 21 says write a compound inequality that the graph could represent. Again, write them separately and determine if it's and or. Here, this part, x and -5, we're going to put something in between them. X is, since x is first, remember it's going this direction, the symbol matches it. Do you need to make it say or equal to is the question. It is an open bubble. Remember, open bubbles are not or equal to. So that part right there is simply x is less than -5. The other part here is x and the number 2, again with something in between them. In this case, the x is first. This symbol is going this way, so it's going to do the same. Unlike the other one where it was an open bubble, this one the bubble is colored in. So it'll be greater than or equal to. There is no overlap happening here. Anytime something is going to the right and the other one's going to the left and they do not overlap each other, this is simply an or inequality. So here's your compound inequality. X is less than -5 or x is greater than or equal to 2. Number 22 says find the x and y intercept of the line. In order to find your x-intercept, you plug in 0 for the opposite variable y. So -6x plus 10 times 0 is equal to 120. Remember, anything times the number 0 effectively eliminates that part of the problem. And it leaves you with -6x is equal to 120. And then divide by -6 to get x by itself. Do the same here to balance it. X is equal to a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 6 goes into 12 twice and into 0 0 times. So the x-intercept is at -20. In order to find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for the opposite x. -6 times 0 plus 10 times y is equal to 120. Again, anytime you multiply 0 times something, you get 0, and that part of the problem goes away. So you have 10y now is equal to 120. When you divide by 10 to cancel out 10 times it, you do the same here. You get y is equal to 10 goes into 12 once, and there's 2 left over. It goes into 20 twice. So y-intercept is equal to 12. Number 23 says solve the equation. Variables are on both sides. You want to bring your smaller variable over to your larger one if they're equal. So 2x would like to go over to the larger 4x side. It's positive, so subtract it. When you do it there, do it here. 4x minus 2x leaves you over with 2x minus 8. That's equal to, this part cancels, +4. Then bring over -8 to the opposite side now that we're trying to leave our x's on the right. -8 or -8 is undone by adding 8. When you do it to the right again, do it to the left. 4 plus 8 is 12 is equal to 2x. And then in order to get x by itself, divide by 2 on both sides to get x's value equals 6. 24 says write an equation in point slope form for the line through the given point with the given slope. So remember, point slope form is y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. It's been a long time since we looked at this. You're given the point and you're given the slope. So you're going to have y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. We have three things to plug in. M is the easiest thing to plug in because you don't have to change anything. In place of m, plug in 3 over 2. There's your slope. Your x sub 1 and y sub 1 are the opposites of whatever they're shown. X sub 1 is negative 4. It goes where x sub 1 is, but it's the opposite of negative 4, positive 4. And y sub 1, y sub 1, negative 8 goes where y sub 1 is. It's the opposite of negative 8, positive 8. So this here is point slope form. Y plus 8 equals 3 halves times x plus 4. And number 25 tells you to write an equation of a line that's parallel to the given one that passes through the given point. Remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Y equals mx plus b. Your m value is your slope. So if it's parallel, it has the same slope, 8 over 5. So if we want to write it, we have a point given to us here, negative 15, negative 34, and we have a slope that's parallel, 8 over 5. So we'll write point slope form again. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1, and we'll plug in everything we need. In place of m again, which goes here, we'll plug in 8 or sub in 8 over 5. In place of y sub 1, this one here, negative 34. Y sub 1 goes here. We'll plug in the opposite, positive 34. And in place of x sub 1, which goes here, we'll plug in the opposite of what it says for x sub 1. It says negative 15, positive 15. Y plus 34 then is equal to 8 over 5 times x plus 15. And that is point slope form.